Our relationship with material possessions has a deep psychological basis. Whether it's a favorite hoodie, a prized collectible, or a beloved pet, these items are more than just objects, they are reflections of our identity. The material self refers to how these objects shape who we are, influence how others perceive us, and provide a sense of security and fulfillment. To explore this concept, we'll look at how philosophers like William James framed material possessions as an extension of self, and how modern psychologists like Russell Belk further developed these ideas. We'll also dive into consumer culture, materialism, compulsive buying, and even pets in collections, illustrating how these things influence our lives. William James, a foundational figure in psychology, argued that the self extends beyond the mind and body to include our material possessions. In his seminal work The Principles of Psychology, James divided the self into 4 parts: the spiritual self, the social self, the bodily self, and the material self. For James, everything we call ours, whether it be clothes, homes, gadgets, or even pets, is part of our material self. These objects hold psychological significance because we project our identity onto them. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Tony Stark's Iron Man suit is an integral part of his identity. The suit isn't just a tool for fighting villains. It reflects his intelligence, wealth, and evolution as a person. Just as Stark's suit is a symbol of who he is, our personal possessions, our favorite clothes or cars, become an extension of our personality. In many cultures, material possessions also symbolize one's social status and identity. In some African communities, cattle or land may be a key part of someone's material self, representing their wealth, status, and even family legacy. In Japan, the tradition of kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with gold, reflects a belief that our possessions, even when flawed, can tell a deeper story about our lives and identity. Material possessions aren't just practical tools, they shape our personal narrative. From essential items, clothes, phones, cars, to symbolic ones, family heirlooms, collections, these objects help us express our values, identity, and social status. In modern society, possessions are often used to create a curated identity. Social media influencers, for example, carefully select and display items that reinforce the image they want to project. Our possessions signal who we are, what we believe in, and what we aspire to be. In the MCU, Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, is more than just a weapon. It is deeply tied to Thor's sense of worth and identity as a hero. When Thor is deemed unworthy and loses the ability to wield it, his entire self-concept is thrown into crisis. Social identity theory suggests that people derive part of their self-concept from group memberships. Material possessions, like wearing a team's jersey or owning certain brands, help signal group affiliations and influence how we are perceived by others. This can increase our social standing, reinforce our identity, or even alienate us if we can't keep up with societal expectations. Building on William James' work, Russell Belk proposed the idea of the extended self in 1988. Belk argued that our possessions aren't just tools, they actively extend our sense of self. For instance, a person may feel incomplete if they lose their phone, not because of the device itself, but because it holds key parts of their life, contacts, photos, and memories. Belk noted that people often imbue personal possessions with emotional meaning. These objects become part of our identity, as they reflect our interests, personality, and history. This is especially true for sentimental items or collections, which hold deeper meaning in memories. Today, many of us feel lost without our smartphones or laptops. These devices store critical parts of our identity, photos, conversations, and work. Belk would argue that these possessions are not just tools, they are integral extensions of ourself. Materialism is the belief that acquiring material goods is a central path to happiness and success. In consumer societies, this belief is heavily promoted by advertising, which encourages people to buy the latest products in pursuit of social status and personal fulfillment. However, research by psychologists like Tim Kaiser has shown that materialism often leads to negative emotions such as anxiety, depression, and loneliness. Materialistic individuals tend to equate their self-worth with external possessions, leading to feelings of inadequacy when they can't keep up with societal expectations. A study by Kaiser found that materialistic people tend to have lower levels of well-being, as they base their self-esteem on things that are temporary and external. This constant pursuit of material wealth leads to dissatisfaction, as it never truly satisfies deeper emotional needs. Compulsive buying disorder, CBD, is characterized by an uncontrollable urge to shop, often driven by emotional needs rather than practical ones. People with CBD tend to shop as a way to cope with stress, anxiety, or boredom, resulting in financial issues and emotional distress. CBD isn't simply about the enjoyment of shopping, it's a psychological condition where the act of buying becomes an escape or emotional outlet. The temporary joy of purchasing new items is quickly replaced by guilt or dissatisfaction, leading to a never-ending cycle. Studies show that compulsive buyers often experience low self-esteem and poor impulse control. Many use shopping to fill emotional voids, but the high from purchasing is fleeting. Over time, this behavior can lead to serious financial consequences and damage relationships. In our modern consumer culture, people are defined by what they own. Social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok reinforce this by allowing users to showcase material goods, whether it's a new outfit, tech gadget, or even an aesthetically curated room. Consumer culture places a high value on conspicuous consumption, where individuals buy and display goods to signal their wealth and status. These material goods help people construct their identities, not just for themselves, but for the broader society. In the K-drama Crash Landing on You, we see the stark contrast between consumer-driven South Korea and the more modest North Korea. The lavish material possessions of the South Korean characters reflect their wealth, while the simpler lives of the North Korean characters highlight a different set of values. This juxtaposition shows how consumer culture shapes not only identity but also social expectations. In a study on social comparison and materialism, researchers found that people who frequently compare their possessions to others on social media tend to have lower self-esteem and report higher levels of envy. This suggests that consumer culture fosters a constant state of comparison and dissatisfaction. The 1999 film Fight Club is one of the most compelling critiques of consumerism. The protagonist, who suffers from insomnia and dissatisfaction with his consumer-driven life, is awakened by a radical underground fight club that rejects material possessions. The things you own end up owning you. This famous line encapsulates the film's critique of consumerism. The protagonist realizes that he's been defining himself through his IKEA furniture and fancy clothes, and that true freedom comes from detaching from these material things. Fight Club challenges the idea that possessions can provide meaning and identity. The film suggests that by stripping away material goods, people can rediscover who they truly are, free from societal expectations and pressures to consume. Beyond consumer goods, personal possessions like pets and collections can also form part of our material self. Pets, for example, provide emotional support and companionship, and many people see their pets as part of their family. Collections, whether it's anime figures, vintage records, or rare coins, also play a significant role in identity formation. These items often reflect a deep personal interest or passion, and they become intertwined with the individual's sense of self. Owning a dog, for instance, might reflect someone's values around companionship, care, and responsibility. Similarly, a person who collects rare comic books may view those items as a reflection of their love for storytelling, art, or history. Improving your material self is not about acquiring more, but rather fostering a healthy relationship with your possessions and using them to reflect and enhance your personal values and growth. Here's how you can do it. Mindful consumption. Before making purchases, Ask yourself if the item aligns with your core values or if it's merely an impulsive desire. This encourages intentional buying and reduces wasteful accumulation. Embrace minimalism. Adopting minimalism helps simplify your life. By decluttering and focusing on fewer, more meaningful possessions, you can foster a sense of calm and intentionality. Minimalism is not just about owning fewer things, but about valuing the right things. Marie Kondo's KonMari method is a prime example of this. Kondo advises only keeping objects that spark joy, emphasizing that our possessions should serve our well-being. Invest in experiences over things. Research shows that experiences, like travel, learning new skills, or spending time with loved ones, bring longer-lasting happiness than material goods. Experiences contribute to our self-concept in more profound ways because they shape memories and personal growth. Prioritize relationships. Recognize that human connections, rather than objects, are central to lasting happiness. While material possessions may provide temporary pleasure, emotional relationships and bonds with others offer deeper satisfaction and meaning. Pets, for example, are living extensions of the material self that provide affection, companionship, and comfort, thus enhancing emotional well-being. Gratitude for what you have. Regularly reflecting on and appreciating the items you already possess can lead to greater satisfaction. Gratitude reduces the urge to constantly acquire new items, reinforcing the idea that the things you own should add to, rather than detract from, your life. While material possessions can indeed shape our sense of self and identity, it's crucial to strike a balance. As William James and Russell Belk have shown, our things are an extension of our identity, but they should not define it entirely. Consumer culture often leads us down a path of materialism and compulsive buying, which can cloud our sense of fulfillment and authenticity. By cultivating mindfulness and gratitude in our approach to material things, we can improve our relationship with them. We must also remember the emotional connections we foster with others, and our experiences ultimately shape our identity more deeply than any possession ever could. As you leave today's lesson, reflect on this. Are the things you own serving you in a meaningful way, or have they started to own you? Understanding your material self is about aligning what you own with who you truly are. By doing so, you can build a more authentic and fulfilling life, grounded not in things, but in experiences, relationships, and values.